Super Mario Bros. 1 for the NES is probably the most recognizable video game of all time. I'm willing to bet that you've played it before, and I'm even willing to bet your grandmother has played it. I'm serious, give her a call right now and ask her. Plus, it'll make her day 1,000 times better. She misses you. Anyway, the game on its own has sold tens of millions of copies and is said to have single-handedly saved video gaming as an entertainment medium. I'm a huge fan of the game, and I've played through it countless times. But unfortunately, over all the playthroughs I've done of the game, it's become a little bit boring. So I decided to give myself a little bit of a challenge for this video, the Damageless Super Mario Bros. Challenge. There are 4 major rules I put in place for myself for this playthrough. 1, I cannot get hit by any enemies. 2, I can't die in any way, including bottomless pits or running out of time. 3, if any of those 2 things happen, I have to restart the game from the very beginning. And 4, I need to complete all 32 levels in the game. Now, I might have a bit of an advantage for this run. I've actually attempted this challenge before live on my Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/PajamaJohn, go follow me there. No! But that was a little while ago now, and I'm a rusty boy. And I've also dabbled in a little bit of speedrunning in this game, but I'm still awful, so that won't help me too much. Let's get started, why don't we? As every single run will, run 1 started in classic old 1-1, the most popular of video game stages. I started off by hopping over the first Goomba and collecting the mushroom hidden inside this question mark block. I next made my way into this pipe, allowing me to skip half of the level, bypassing any possible danger. After this, it was a pretty simple race to the end, grabbing the top of the flagpole. 1-2 is the first underground level of the game, and I have a special strategy in mind for this one. I started by grabbing this fire flower, which I plan to bring with me all the way to the end of the run. And then I broke the brick ceiling and ran across the top of the level, which allows me to skip the entirety of the stage. But I do need to be careful though. If I go too far, I'll end up in the warp zone, which I'm not allowed to use during this run, and I would have to restart the entire game. But in this case, I didn't, and I made my way through the pipe at the end of the level. The third stage in each world is probably the level I'm most worried about, because they mix platforming with a sort of random element that could end up getting me hit. 1-3 though is no problem, and it's quite a breeze actually. Everything sort of lines up perfectly, and with my fire flower, there are no issues at all getting through this one. 1-4 is the first of 8 castle stages for me to go through, and since this is the first one, it's quite easy if you're careful. I stopped to go underneath these fire bars and then weave through these ones. And then that brings us to the fight with Bowser. Usually you'd have to go underneath or over him in order to hit the axe at the end of the bridge, which would then cause Bowser to fall into the lava, but since I have a fire power-up, I can hit him 5 times and get rid of him that way. World 1 is really easy, and I don't really expect it to give us any trouble at all. On to World 2. 2-1 introduces us to another power-up available in the game, the Invincibility Star. Hidden in this block is a star power that allows you to run right through enemies and be invulnerable to any damage. This makes the stage super quick and easy. 2-2 is the first underwater level of the game. Probably my least favorite stage type, but thankfully this one isn't too tough. With a fire flower, you're able to shoot any enemies in your path, clearing a way through the level, making the stage pretty safe. 2-3 is a bridge stage. These are most likely going to be the most difficult stages in the run since they are pretty random. As you run and jump from bridge to bridge, cheeps fly through the air at random velocity and trajectories, making it really hard to predict where they might be. I can imagine this being really difficult to deal with, but thankfully this time around, even though there were a few close calls, I made it to the end safely. 2-4 was not all too different from World 1's castle. I needed to jump over lava and slow down for fire bars, and then shoot Bowser 5 times with my fireballs. Time for World 3. 3-1 is a pretty scary stage. I assume it's supposed to be a snowy theme, but I find it kind of haunting. Anyways, this level introduces us to the hopping paratroopas, which are pretty hard to deal with sometimes. I had a super close call here. This stage has an invincibility star in it, which once collected, lasts to the end of the stage. No problems here. 3-2 is pretty much the same as 3-1. There's a star that also lasts to the end of the level. Very easy. 3-3 is another treetop stage. This one introduces these scale platforms, but this isn't much of a challenge. 3-4 is another basic castle stage. This time around, it is a bit tougher, but nothing really to worry about. 4-1, on the other hand, is a pretty unique level. It introduces us to a new enemy, Lakitu. Lakitu throws spinies at us from the sky, but I will say 4-1 is a pretty easy stage. 4-2 is the second underground level of the game, which means that once again, I'm going to run over the top of the level so I can bypass any possible danger. 4-3 has my favorite level theme, the giant mushroom level. I think it just looks so cool. It's always a blast to play through it. This is super similar to the tree levels from earlier. This one just ramps the difficulty up a little bit by adding tougher jumps and a lot more moving platforms. World 4's castle is actually an interesting interesting one. This one is a maze level, meaning that I have to go down the correct path or else the stage will just keep looping. But I know the solution to the puzzle, so this one was a breeze. Just be careful for this fire bar though. World 5 starts off with a daytime snowy level. Pretty early into the stage, there's a star for us to pick up, which brings us all the way to the end of the level. And 5-2 is pretty much the same. Grab the star in the middle of the level and make it all the way to the end. The only thing notable about this level is that there is a hammer brother at the start, but with well-timed fireballs, it's pretty easy to get past. 5-3 is a treetop level. I wish it was a mushroom level, but whatever, I guess. And this one can be very tough. While once again ramping up in difficulty platforming-wise, we also now need to worry about the bullet bills flying from the right side of the screen. And these bullet bills can be in the worst spots, so this level could be super hard. We got through it this time though. 5-4 is the first castle level I would consider hard. There are a lot more fire bars and fireballs jumping out of the lava that we need to dodge. Not to mention worrying about Bowser's fire breath. All of those together makes a pretty challenging stage for us to get through, but I made it to the end. World 6 has us in another Lakitu level, but at the beginning I was able to get on top of this block and shoot him with a fireball, making this just a race to the end. Not too hard at all. 6-2 is a pretty unique stage. It is littered with a ton of pipes that have piranha plants coming in and out of them, but if you slow down in this level and shoot the piranha plants with fireballs, there isn't much that can hurt you. 6-3 on the other hand is pretty hard. Another treetop level, this time using the dark and snowy theme. This level is very tough because of its use of springs. Here at the beginning of the level, I almost fell into a pit because of this spring not giving me the momentum I thought it would. But then the level brings in bullet bills and another spring jump that I almost died to. But I made it through this time to the, for some reason, slightly pink tinted flagpole. 6-4 can be very tough because of the weird timing of the fire bars and fireball at the beginning of the stage. I luckily squeezed my way through the start by improvising some movement. But at this point, I started to get a little nervous because of how close I was to losing my run there. I made it through to the end of the level, but my heart was racing pretty fast. And in 7-1, my nerves caught up to me and I stopped being careful and wasn't paying attention to what obstacles could be in my way. This level is riddled with bullet bill cannons that can fire from both directions. And I didn't think that this bullet bill cannon would shoot one right at me. And I ended up getting hit and losing the run. All in all though, I'm a little bit glad that I lost the run, but it got pretty deep. For a first run, this was amazing. And I guess there wouldn't really be a video to make if I beat the challenge on the first try. I'm now a lot more prepared for what's ahead of me, and I don't think that this challenge will take too long. Is what I would have said if I didn't lose run 2 right in 2-4 due to a really dumb mistake. I think because of how well the first run went, I was a little bit overconfident in racing through levels. And I got ahead of myself in 2-4 and didn't slow down towards the end, making me get hit by Bowser's fire breath. Nevertheless, I reset again for run number 3, which didn't go nearly as bad. I made my way through all of the early stages as I usually would, getting through levels like 2-3 and 4-3 without a hiccup. But World 5-3 is where this run was lost. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that this level was going to be a tough one. 5-3 is the first treetop level with bullet bills flying all over the place. And even though I was cautious and taking this level slow, I was no match to the randomness of these bullet bills. I hopped on top of this Goomba and was bounced straight into a bullet bill that appeared right out of nowhere. It was just an unfortunate loss. Run number 4 was another run where I was getting careless. I'd lost 2 pretty deep runs and I was getting a little bit restless, trying to get to the later stages faster. And in 3-2, I got hit in a pretty stupid way. While hitting the block to get the power star, I fell into this walled-in area with a Koopa and was hit right away. An unfortunate early loss, but I started another run. At the end of the last run, I realized that if I want to really complete this challenge, I need to keep full focus the entire run. I need to keep calm and play levels a lot safer, because the more runs I lose to dumb mistakes, the longer this challenge will take and the more time I'll end up wasting. So on run 5, I decided I would finally learn from my mistakes and try my very hardest. In each stage, I tried to clear out as many enemies as I could to make the levels far safer. I slowed it down in the stages that I was prone to make mistakes in and made sure to be careful with the bullet bills in stages like 5-3, just inching my way through the level and only making jumps when there was time in between bullet bills. I made it all the way through the end of World 6 with a bit of weird movement again at the start of 6-4, but I took out the Hammer Bowser and went back into World 7. Run number 1 was lost right here at the start of 7-1, but this time I wasn't as nervous as before. I had a better route planned in my head. In order to minimize the chance of me getting hit by bullet bills, I was going to jump from the top of each cannon to the next, which proved to be pretty safe. I took out the 2 Hammer Bros at the start of the second half of the level, slowly took out the next set of bros, and made it to the end of the level with no problem. We are now on a personal best run going into 7-2, which is a water level. level. During this stage, I decided to take my time and shoot all possible enemies with fireballs, and I swam to the end of the stage without much problem at all. But 7-3 is the level I was most nervous about in this entire run. But before we get into this next level, I want to tell you about this video sponsor, the like and subscribe buttons. These videos take me a super long time to make, from gameplay to scripting to recording to editing and uploading, and I don't get monetarily compensated for that time I take because I am a super small channel. So if you were to be so kind, please hit the like and subscribe button. It's the only way for me to know whether you guys are enjoying these videos or not. And hey, if you're feeling super generous, why not leave a comment too? The algorithm loves that. Anyways, 7-3 is a very hard bridge running level. The platforming is harder than the last, and it's riddled with more cheap cheeps hopping through the air, which could really prove to be a problem. That's not what ultimately brought me to my demise in this run. I was actually getting through this stage without much problem until this perfectly placed Koopa made me bounce right off his head into a bottomless pit. A pretty devastating way to lose our best run, but there's nothing I can do about that now except for learn from my mistake and hopefully not do that again the next time I make it here. Run number 6 made it pretty deep, getting past the halfway mark in World 4, but I lost in World 5 after I so graciously jumped into a pit of lava. Run number 7 was pretty textbook until I made it all the way to World 7, but in 7-2 I was trying to move a little bit too fast and found myself getting jumped by 4 bloopers at the same time. Needless to say, I didn't make it out of that one. It seems to me like World 7 is going to be the biggest roadblock in this run. I'm pretty confident in World 8 as I've played through those levels probably hundreds of times, so I know them pretty well. But World 7 is where I have the least game knowledge. After a pretty great deep run in run number 7, run 8 was the absolute opposite. I literally just jumped right into a pit in 2-1. This was the worst run to date. Run 9 made it all the way to 6-2, but I missed a fireball on a piranha plant. By the way, try and tell me this didn't hit. The fire went right through the top of him. I just don't understand. But yeah, I got hit. And run number 10 made it to 5-4, where I carelessly got hit by a fire bar. Like I mentioned before, I was getting too restless and wanted to get to the end of runs as fast as I could, which ends up with me making very careless mistakes. So I decided to take a break since it was getting late and try again tomorrow. So I got some rest, and right as I woke up in the morning, I started session 2. And if I'm being honest, I was pretty groggy, so my hopes weren't too high for the first few runs of the day. And to no surprise, run number 11 went pretty horribly. I made it through World 1 just fine, but in 2-1, after grabbing the star power-up, I wasn't paying proper attention and ended up running straight into a Koopa. Run number 12, on the other hand, went pretty well, getting all the way into World 7. Unfortunately though, this run died at 7-1, but I feel like the damage I took wasn't even my fault. I got pinned in between 2 bullet bills and a jumping Koopa. I guess in retrospect, I should have just jumped over the whole thing, but there's nothing I can do about that one. Run number 13 and 14 were both lost in World 2, swimming into a cheap cheap and then getting hit by Bowser's fire breath. Run number 15 once again made it into World 7. 7-3 actually, the level that I'm most afraid of in this run. And wouldn't you know it, I was right about the cheap cheeps getting in the way. The way these guys were set up was honestly baffling. I had to jump over this Koopa, and the cheap cheap had perfect trajectory to hit me on my way down. And then behind me there was a cheap cheap, so I couldn't slow down. And who knows when another one is going to jump at me. This world is very hard. Run number 16 made it back into World 5, where for some reason my entire momentum was killed off this platform and I fell into a bottomless pit. In run number 17, I ran into a piranha plant in 6-2. This is a level that I really should not be losing any runs to, since it's very safe with a fire flower. Runs 18 and 19 were lost to running into fireballs in 3-4, something that once again should not happen. And I kid you not, run 20 also died in World 3, when my game tabbed out right as I was about to jump. I swear to you this happened, you'll just have to take my word for it. But at this point, I'd been playing for around another 2 hours. So I decided to take a break and go to the gym for a bit, and when I came back strong. Run number 21 would see us hitting new heights, playing with our full power level, making it to stages we have never seen before. The run was as usual all the way through to World 7. Run through 1-1, over the top in 1-2, speed run through 1-3, dodge fireballs in 1-4, you get the gist. And then I made it all the way to the dreaded 7-3, where to my surprise, with a little bit of luck on my side, I was able to just hold right and all the cheap cheeps were out of my way, and I made it to the end of the level. At this point, I realized it was now or never. I had to beat the game on this run, or it would likely be a while before I was able to get past 7-3 again. 7-4 is the second Maze Bowser level of the game, where I needed to take a specific path in order to get to the fight at the end. At first, I messed up and forgot about the pattern, but I quickly fixed my mistake and made it to the end of the stage and fought Hammer Bowser. I was now onto World 8, the final world of the game. Thankfully, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very familiar with these levels, so I knew what was coming up ahead. And I knew that since I had a Fire Flower, the only stage I really needed to worry about was 8-2. So I ran through 8-1, jumping over pipes, killing Koopas, and grabbing this power star that led me close to the end of the level, where I was able to climb up this scary staircase. But 8-2, like I said, would be likely the biggest hurdle of this run. This stage throws basically everything at you all at once. You need to weave through bullet bills, dodge jumping Koopas, make extremely tight jumps, all while Lakitu chases you through the level. So needless to say, I was nervous. I made it up the staircase at the beginning of the stage with no problem. I fought these Koopas, made it over all the bullet bills, and made what I believe to be the hardest jump in the entire game. And now all I needed to do was make it to the end of this level, which had me fight a few more Koopas and dodge one more bullet bill. And I did so successfully. 8-3 is a huge problem for a lot of players because of the Hammer Brothers. Usually it's very hard to bring a Fire Flower to this level since World 8 only has a couple of power-up blocks in the first place. But since we're doing Damageless, I've been able to keep mine from World 1 all the way here. The Fire Flower makes this level a breeze. You can easily take out the Hammer Bros no problem and stroll your way to the end of the level. Now the only thing in between me and the glory of being able to say I successfully beat Super Mario Bros. 1 Damageless is the World 8 Castle. The World 8 Castle is pretty daunting. It's another maze. But this time, you need to pick the correct series of pipes to make it to the end where you take on the final Bowser fight. But like I said before, I know World 8 extremely well, and I know this stage like the back of my hand. I know which pipes to go down and when to look out for flying Cheep Cheeps that could end my whole run. I took the correct series of pipes, swam through the water portion of the castle, and now all that's left to do is take out Bowser. So I killed this Hammer Bro, jumped over the lava pit, and fought Bowser one last time. 5 fireballs took him out, and finally, after 4 hours and 28 minutes of total time played, able to complete the Damageless Super Mario Bros. Challenge. And boy, does it feel good to have absolutely conquered this game in one of its most sought after challenges. I have officially completed all 32 stages in Super Mario Bros. In a row without getting hit a single time. And honestly, it was a super fun experience. I'd recommend trying it out yourself. Thank you all for watching to the end of this video. Like I mentioned earlier, leave a like and drop a sub. It helps motivate me to keep making videos. And also let me know in the comments if you want to see me try this challenge again in some more Mario games. Alright, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.